Obviously, as patients experience multiple relapses, the goal of trying to eradicate disease, become minimal residual disease negative, perhaps even cure, diminishes, and we focus more on quality of life rather than getting the deepest remission possible. We also have to be cognizant of prior side effects of therapy and the mechanism of actions of drugs. So when we get to third or even fourth relapse of the disease, we're tending to pull for new agents, new targets, although sometimes we can recycle drugs that we've used in the past. So good examples today would be the emergence of BCMA as a target. A lot of excitement around targeting that drug with either an antibody-drug conjugate, what we call BiTEs or bispecific antibodies targeting T cells, enhancing their function, or the very exciting area of chimeric antigen receptor T cells, which is emerging rapidly as a very effective and very attractive strategy in late relapse disease. There are also some new small molecules that we should mention, which have emerged as effective in multiple myeloma and late relapse, again targeting different genetic targets, one of which is venetoclax. This is a drug which seems to be particularly useful in one type of myeloma, which has a translocation 1114. But when it is combined with a proteasome inhibitor, and we heard about this in an abstract at this meeting here in Chicago, when it's combined with carfilzomib or with bortezomib, we see very high response rates with venetoclax in those drugs. The other drug we should mention is selinexor. Selinexor is a very novel mechanism of action. It's a completely new class of agent to be used in multiple myeloma, and it seems to be quite effective even in patients who have failed all 5 commonly used drugs, patients we call penta-refractory. Selinexor has just been reported to have a 25% response rate in those patients. It is orally delivered, so it's convenient, but it can be a challenging drug for patients, and there's a definite learning curve in its use for the physicians, the nurses, and the patients themselves in finding a tolerable dose and a way to take it over long periods of time. So I guess in summary, we have lots of new drugs coming, BCMA-targeted agents, selinexor, venetoclax, that we can add to the traditional therapies we've used in the late relapse setting. Unfortunately, in myeloma, most patients are still not cured. So there's definitely still unmet need in this disease, despite the plethora and very exciting advances we've seen in the past 5 to 10 years. We're seeing the emergence of CAR-T and other T-cell engaging therapies as perhaps the answer to converting deep responses into cures. We need to learn more about how to use those drugs earlier in the disease course. I think the future is bright for myeloma patients. Every 2 or 3 years we have a new drug which extends life and extends survival. And as we begin to learn how to use those drugs early in the disease course, when the disease can still be intercepted and perhaps cured, I think we're going to start seeing that cure curve and the plateau of long-term survivors increase.